All right, traders, good afternoon. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Wednesday, January 13th. Theme of the day, I would say, indices a little bit choppy, but definitely some momentum again in single stocks. It's pretty amazing when some of these names are just breaking out to new highs and some decent opportunities in there too. Still, I would say some things a little bit difficult. I saw some things kind of give back some gains at the end of the day. So it's not, it's not fall over easy, but I think that definitely some opportunities out there. And then I would say, sorry, this is not a little bit more momentum, but a little bit more rotation. Got momentum on the brain. Risk disclaimer: everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations, anything of that nature, education purposes only. So when we look at the averages for the day. Look at this little Q's outperformance today. Not much, but still we'll take it. Up 70 basis points, just shy of 1%. And then the small caps, which were on absolute fire yesterday and last week, they were quiet today. They were down about almost 0.75%. So almost like the inverse relationship there between the Qs and the IWM. And SPY kind of caught in the middle today. Didn't really do too much. You know, the VIX went up a little bit towards the end of the day, but you could see VIX was down 4.8% for the day. So, I don't know. I want to throw in the word chop in there, but some things did well, some things didn't. Again today, interesting bonds. I would say, a move back today, up 1.1% for the day. So that's something different. All right, we'll kind of start with that chart really quick because again, I think the bond move, fixed income is such a big market, right? And I think that there's a lot of equity traders that kind of neglect it, but it did put in a hammer bar there yesterday, and you got a little bit of follow through. So, maybe a little bit of a reversion back. That's expected. I mean, there was what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot. 5 red bars in a row for bonds and a reversion. So S&P, the level that if you watched my video yesterday, you know that there was one level that I was talking about that was important because again, it's tough to really find a lot on the daily chart and especially the weekly chart. There's just not a lot to kind of hang your hat on in terms of analysis. We're above the short-term moving averages. We're consolidating a little bit there on that extension away from the value area. That's the R1 venom. These venoms that we call them, they're extensions away from the value area. So we got a little bit of consolidation here. It's fine for me. And the level that I'm watching, we've been kind of dancing all along kind of the top of that. It does look, kind of reminds me of a little bit of a tightrope. But you could see multiple times there's been buyers that have kind of come in. Every time this thing dips into value, there's buyers that kind of come in and support the market. So we're not that far away from that level. So I don't think that we're safe from that level, 37.90. That's going to be something to watch. Again, hammer bar in here. We dipped here about 7 in the morning, and came back. And you could see that. I still see futures moving here a little bit. Qs, which was the other one that we talked about yesterday, also came into top of value for the week, and so the market webs are telling us we got valid support, so they're doing a good job, right? Nice bounce off of here, and no break again. These are 1 hour bars, so sometimes you have to let the bar close because this looks pretty ugly yesterday, as far as like, oh, geez, we're really breaking down, and then whoop, we come back and it gets bought. So again, there's some support and some buying going on here. All right, so that's the indices. Let's talk a little bit about the sectors. You could see there wasn't really much of if you look at yesterday or what I talked about yesterday in terms of sectors, there was still some sector outperformance, but it was in things like you could see the utilities were actually up. That could be because of the move in the interest rates today, but they were up 2%. The pot stocks had some follow through there, up close to 4%. So nice move there. Saw a little bit of call activity in a few of those names. REITs, another really sensitive one. The medical devices, which were a little bit weak yesterday, they came back today and they were up 1.1%. And I think that's it for best performing sectors. I'm just looking on my other screen here, And yeah, I don't see very much else, up 1% for the day. Oil services, which were, all the oil names, which I mentioned, I talked about yesterday because they were up huge. They gave back some of those profits today. So again, remember, you know, if you're trading day to day or if you're a swing trader, these things are going to ebb and flow a little bit, right? You can't expect them to be up every single day, even if the trend, even if some areas of the market, not just, what I was talking about was it what I was referring to as energy, but outside of energy, you have to remember that some names they build for a couple of days and then they come back and they retrace a little bit. Sometimes the retracement is the place where you want to add to some names if you like that group, right? I'll go over like a couple names outside of that. Just one name that I was watching today, and it's funny because I don't know. I've been doing this for so long that I don't know. I've obviously have seen a lot, but this is not really saying much here. But crowd was down 3%, and I saw like a couple things on the internet. They're like, and on no news. Well, the news is it's gone up like 4 out of 5 days before this. So yes, there, I think that people always sometimes traders, sometimes retail traders tend to think, oh, geez, why is it down 3%? What's the news that's bringing this thing down? Well, again, the news is that it's just been on a really nice run, right? And that's how things go. They ebb and they flow, right? So yeah, I didn't see any news on this, but what this means to me is, I would actually, I'm long this name in the TTG trend portfolio, right? In my longer term trend portfolio that I manage here at Tribeca Trade Group. But for a swing trade, I would love if this crowd comes in like one more day, right? And I think, that's a lot of names that have broken out. You kind of want them to come in a little bit because then they become buying opportunities, right? If they just keep going up, and sometimes you miss some of these names. And, honestly, I missed this last piece of crowd, moving out to highs. So yeah, I would like this to come in another 3% for tomorrow because most likely it will attract some buying and, maybe into the 20-day moving average. Who knows? But I'll be watching that name, tomorrow. But that's just one example of a name that I'm watching. Another one like, is CSIQ. This was a name that I tried trading a little bit yesterday, but, if you take a look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, coming in a little bit, even if this thing wants to land into the 20-day moving average, I wouldn't mind getting back involved in a solar name in here. So those are the kinds of things that I'm looking at. If we want to talk about, some of the names that we saw some call activity and some of the outperformance. I had a number of really nice trades that were working for me. SE, which saw more calls today, but so like, just like this, right? I mean, there's no news on this. Oh, sorry, there was news on this stock. They're buying some small company. So there is news on this one. So up 3.8%. I took another target in this one. Here is the kind of breakout of the trend line, also break here. So this is a name that it's one of my go-to names. Like whenever this name dips or consolidates, it is such a great name. So, for regular trading purposes, this is a place where you're starting to take profits. You're not maybe not starting to take profits. This is the third profit target I've hit since I put this trade on. I think last week I put C Capital on last week. So this is the third target I hit. But yeah, ebb and flows, right? So I mean, what do you think? This thing's going to go to the moon? What I would say is, and maybe I should have taken the whole thing off today looking at it because it's a little bit extended. But this thing comes back in, right, as this name does. I mean, this is a perfect example of a beautiful trend. But yeah, it's extended here. So that's why taking profits. But yeah, hindsight, because the market's closed, this actually wouldn't be a bad spot to take the rest of it off. But that's fine. It could get a little bit more extended. It's not super overbought, but this does, and then it will come back in hopefully, and that'll be another place to kind of reload a little bit. But that's how it works. And NDM, just to kind of talk about some of my trades for the day. Look at this thing, closed on the absolute highs. So if you're in this one with me, but and I got in this one 2 days ago. and yesterday it did nothing, right? So some things, it's a I put out this saying the other day. There's a fine line between being patient and stubborn. I'm going to talk about one too that didn't work. And stubbornness is not a good thing in trading, right? Saying, "Oh, I'm sticking to it because I know it. I know this is going to work." I've learned to kind of get away from that philosophy over the years, and that's helped me a lot. So I'll go over a loser in just a second. I'm going over winners, but I'll go over a loser or two. But this thing, I'm sitting here, because I added this thing on the highs 2 days ago, right around 970. Right, I think you heard me talk about this, and not yesterday. I didn't even mention it in yesterday's video, but the day before, I bought this thing at 970, and I'm kind of bumming. This thing's at like 930, 940. Well, look at this thing go, 1143. Right, really nice. I'm looking to take another target at 1237. Right, that is a virgin point of control. Right, because this is still kind of in retracement mode. So that would be a good place to take it. So nice one there. Match. So here's kind of something that I've been doing, which is kind of a little bit cute, right? If I get into a name, and wow, look at that. If I get into a name, and I'm in some calls, this is a tough name, by the way, in options. So I did not get into a big position because the options were just too wide. So I got into a position at the end of the day yesterday, and I took off the took my first target here and then got out of it here for, so this is nice, right? This is a nice, nice exit on this. And then I said, you know what I'm going to do, because it's intraday, and I was talking about this in the TTG Q&A session that we do Monday, Wednesdays, and then we do our look ahead session on Friday, all at 1 o'clock midday, right? So it's great. Talk to members. We go over some charts. We go over some of the trades for the day. But this was a good example. I got out of the momentum, right? You got leverage. The options move a lot faster. I still wanted to see if this name could break out. So what did I do? I substituted, out of the options and into stock, because then you can use, a chart stop. It's a little bit less volatile, right? And especially if you want to see if it's intraday, because we never know. This happened today at what time? What time was this? This was at 11 o'clock. So, the most important, time to enter, or the best time to, in my opinion, to enter into a swing trade is at the end of the day, because how the candle is going to look, or the bar for the day. You know what it's going to look like. When it's midday, it's an unknown, right? And sometimes they do this. This thing hit 159 and did not close above value, right? So for me, that the trigger is gone, right, for a breakout. So what did I do? How did I react to that? Well, I took it off, right? So I lost a little bit of money on the stock, but I made much more on the option, right? But if I would have, rolled it into an option, I would have lost more money, right? Because of course, the options are going to be much more sensitive, right? And especially if the stock doesn't go, if you purchase it on the high, which is around where I did purchase the stock, and it gives back $4, you're bumming, right? You lost a lot. You gave back a lot of your profits in the option. So that's kind of one cute way that I've been using both stock and options, and trying to make sure that I'm only messing with the profits and not giving back too much if the trade doesn't work. I played a little bit of this RL that didn't work on a rumor and got out of it really quickly. I added some LC. I could have taken a target. I didn't. I like this LC, but it didn't wind up too well. I'm looking for this thing to kind of break higher, which again is a lot to ask for, but it is a small cap name. I'm looking for this thing to get up to 13.15. All right, so again, it's still kind of in retracement mode. All right, so I think that's feasible. And what am I in? I'm in a short-term play here. I'm in February's. Net and apps, which I don't think closed on its highs, but still above value, which is fine. I can understand some give back, but as long as it stays above value, that's really good. This was a play that we talked about in the trading room yesterday. One of our members brought this name up, and it looked pretty good. Net is another one which I think looks really good here, right? And I'm looking for a move through value, 86. I took one target in this thing. Again, I always take targets, right? I'll talk about one that I took too. This LAZR. I had put this chart in the room earlier. I saw some calls that went up. Uh, what time did I put this trade on? Do, 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 do. Yeah. So this was at 12:40, but I think I posted the chart around like 11 o'clock today. Let's see. Let's go to our chart setups. Do, 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 do. Zoom actually got to where we wanted it to go to. I didn't take that trade. Did I put this LAZR? Yeah. So yeah, 11:44 was I. This is what I was talking about. Um, I said, look at the low volume consolidation going on. So this thing caught a little bit. So again, you know, we don't know how things are going to end up by the end of the day. I took a target around $35, and it kind of canceled the buy signal. I stood in this. I'm still in this trade because I did take a target, so I took some off the table, and I'm okay. I'm in stock. I'm not in options. So this way I could be a little bit more patient with the name. Just a few other names. One name that we put on, and I think we discussed this at the end of the day yesterday, was Peloton. I put this one at the end of the day. Really nice move here. And again, sometimes you get a little bit lucky. I think there was a broker price target raise. Also, there was a little bit more of kind of a stay-at-home type theme today, right? Zoom was up nicely. But look where Zoom stopped, right? So again, we lined this up perfectly, right? I talked about this name a couple times, and I talked about how you can use these version point of controls, right? If we zoom out a little bit, we'll wait for this to fill in here, but this was perfect, right? We talked about this, right around like 360 today, and I said, hey, this thing could run to the 380 VPOC. So perfect, got right there. That's your scalp for the day. And this resistance up at 383 lined up perfectly with this resistance. So excuse me, 382. All right. So again, sometimes you have good scalp opportunities. I don't know if this Zoom could really turn the corner, but it had a little bit of momentum to it. Now we'll kind of see if it can get through and above that 382. For now, I think it's a no touch. It was a nice trade yesterday that you could have participated in. Nice trade today. But I think especially names that have kind of lost their mojo like this, you really want to see them turn, right? And a couple of things to watch for a turn, for me with the Market Webs indicator is a move above 382. If you don't have the Market Webs indicator, you could use some moving averages, right? The 50-day moving average is a pretty big thing, right? Look at how this thing failed the last time, 50-day moving average. So 20-day moving average first. Right, and since it lost this, it also failed again at the 20-day moving average. Right, sometimes people don't like to use moving averages, but I think they're so useful. Right, look at how well this 20-day moving average. Right, it tried to get back here, failed. It got over here once, but then failed at the 50-day moving average, and since then it hasn't really been able to close above the 20-day moving average. That's it. I know some people use like the anchored VWAP. They're very similar concepts. I use this moving average system along with the market webs, and it works pretty darn good for me for kind of staying out of some trades where the risk reward isn't great, or where you're seeing the resistance where others are not, right? Which tells you that something should be a scalp type trade or a day trade versus a swing trade, right? So all kinds of trades out there. PayPal, I'll talk about one or two other names. PayPal. Finally, got the breakout here too. I'm looking for continuation. I've talked about PayPal in these videos the last few days. It looks good to me. It's moving the right direction. Don't forget, we got earnings that are right around the corner. I would like to hold this, try to hold this all the way into earnings. So I took one target in this thing today, but I've got a little bit, maybe one or two more targets to hit in this one. All right, any other trades? And then you could see like I really didn't do much besides this LAZR. I took some targets, and that was it. I added a little bit to the CTVA, but that was it for me in the afternoon. Very quiet trading. Too many things I saw were reverting. Right, I did not play the snap, but you could see like started up, beginning of the day, got up to 57 and gave it all back. Pins is another one that kind of was a fake out. So that's why I kind of just sat on my hands this afternoon. I didn't like some of these reversions that I saw in a few names. The other thing that I would add, because last thing is that, this CTVA is a name that I like. It didn't really come in that much, but it's down 1% today. It's funny how this market is. I was talking about pre-market about all the strength in the agriculture space. Things like corn, wheat, soybeans that have been moving, and I've been kind of bulled up on this agriculture space. But today, these names digested a little bit. SQM was another name that is kind of just digesting a little bit. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The other thing that, as a kind of, thought as I approach every day I have trade ideas and, a list, a watch list and an idea of what could move. But really, I'm paying attention to the tape and I'm changing. So, if they're going to have the momentum and growth names rally, then that's fine. I'll find trades in that area. So you have to really, in this market, the way that the momentum is, just go with the flow, and capitalize on things that are going to move for the day, because it's crazy, right? Some of these moves that we're seeing up 10-15%. So if you can try to stay as nimble as possible, you can catch some of these things. Even if you don't like them for long term, you could happy to take a 10% move here and there that some of these momentum areas of the market are trading. So it's a real, I'll tell you, it's a really, really fun market to trade. How long it lasts, I have no idea because the one thing that's a little bit concerning, and I hate to leave with a negative thing, but it's not negative, but we still have to manage our risk and be disciplined traders. Look at the put call ratio yesterday, 0.34. Now, I talked about this a little bit in the pre-market session. It's one of those things that just kind of keep in the back of your mind, right? It's a little bit of your curb your enthusiasm. Make sure that you're not holding, every single, it's kind of like if I always try to give analogies. If you know the game Rummy 500, right, which is what I used to play with my mom and my grandmother when I was younger. But Rummy 500, it's different than Gin Rummy. But what happens is you could end up picking up cards, right? And the object of the game is to put points down, and then to basically go out before any of the other players in the game. Now, if you keep picking up cards, right, now you need to pick up some cards to put the points down, right, and to get on the board in terms of score. But however, if you keep picking up the cards, someone else can go out on you, and then you're left holding the bag, right? You've got all these cards in your hands, and what happens is the cards end up being negatives, right, versus what you have. So, yeah, a little bit of a trading similarity there. With everybody getting bulled up, which again, the put call ratio should kind of tell you nobody buying puts, everybody buying calls, right? Eventually, there's going to be a little bit of a snapback volatility. When that happens, no clue. But considering I can't predict the future, then what I do is try to be disciplined and realize that not every trade is going to work. Oh, I mentioned I was going to talk about a loser, right? So Honeywell. This one didn't work for me. I was anticipating a break higher. Unfortunately, it got stuffed right around 212. So this is a name that I took off for a loss today. That's fine because it increases my cash balance and I could look for things that are going to work. I'm not going to be stubborn and say, even though I like this name, I actually have this name on in the TTG trend portfolio. But in terms of holding options, if it's not there, it's not there. I don't, the whole idea of this trade was for this thing to break out. It's not doing that. It's not even in value anymore. I added to it a little bit yesterday because it snuck back in here, and I thought we might get a reversal back. We could still get a reversal back tomorrow, but for now, I want to be disciplined, and I don't mind adding to my cash balance when I've got 6 or 7 other trades that are working well for me. All right, so that's the name of the game in trading a little bit. One final note here. Our weekend trade, TTG watchlist trade. Remember last week our watchlist was up 8%. Remember we buy this on Monday, we hold it for the week. So this watchlist for this week is up another 2%. And SPY is flat for the week, or actually even down for the week. So far so good. We're outperforming again. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do every week with this particular trade. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.